Hello, welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy, and it is great to see Joe Stanley, Jackie Felgate, Dr Nick Carr. Welcome, guys.
Good to see you, Darcy.
Well, being here always makes me smile, Darcy. You know that, which is wonderful because the evidence is in smiling, even a fake one, not that mine is fake, but it automatically makes us feel happier.
Well, this has been a hot topic on social media for a while now. A team led by Stanford University recruited around 4,000 people for a global study on smiling and found that everyone involved reported a boost in positive emotions after forcing a smile. As Joe said, even a fake one works.
And it's an interesting result because it brings us closer to understanding the mysteries of human emotions. And it proves that they must be at least partly triggered by bodily sensations and that we should smile more, especially when we don't really feel like it.
You actually want to smile when you're having this conversation, don't you? We are on a mission today to keep everyone smiling, starting with some big medical breakthroughs happening in Adelaide, Jack.
That's right, Das. Landmark wound healing technology is being developed in South Australia thanks to some incredible advances in stem cell research. Stem cells taken from donated bone marrow are being turned into a high-tech dressing that actually helps wounds heal. Pretty amazing, Dr. Nick.
Well, that's right, Jack. And stem cells are these amazing little building blocks that can turn into, well, almost any specialised cell. So they have this incredible potential to heal. And there are some people whose wounds simply don't heal, especially the elderly. I've got a few patients like that. And they would love to have this eventually produced as a miraculous dressing.
Yeah, let's hope that's with us very soon. What a great story that is. From healing injuries to stopping ourselves getting sick, Joe. Now, I know that you like to keep your house clean. I'm sort of nervous throwing this your way. Not always an easy thing to do, though, with a busy house.
Well, when you got kids and animals, yes, I love a nice, clean, white bench. Not that my family agrees with me sometimes, because, you know, it's what's lurking on unclean surfaces, especially where food has been, that really worries me. There's all kinds of nasty germ-infested bacteria there.
Well, and kitchens can be a germ fest, especially on cutting boards. And salmonella, it's one of those nasty bacteria that can be found in things like raw eggs, poultry and meat, and even some produce that's already been washed. So it's a case of cleaning surfaces, utensils and hands a lot. And don't defrost food on the kitchen bench, whatever you do.
A very good tip, Dr. Nick. COVID has changed everything, including our approach to food hygiene. Communal buffets with food sitting in the open air for who knows how long.
Thank you.
They are a thing of the past, thankfully. But here's some things you may not have thought about from Professor Paul Dawson, a food scientist who will never eat a piece of birthday cake with candles.
One that seemed to get the most attention is the 5-second rule. That is dropping food on a surface and picking it up within 5 seconds is keeping the food from getting dirty or getting bacteria. But that's a myth. The take-home message is that if you drop food on a surface that has bacteria on it, it'll be on the food when you pick it up and eat it. Yeah, restaurant menus. If you think about it, everyone goes in a restaurant, probably touches a menu. If you put your hand in your mouth, eat a sandwich, whatever, transferred again. So it's kind of surface-to-surface transfer. Kind of a recommendation there would be, yeah, order your food. Don't be afraid to go out and eat, but maybe want to wash your hands after you order, before you eat, if you're going to, especially having a sandwich.
What about double dipping? I have a feeling that my theory that if you turn the piece of food around and don't put the bit that's come from your mouth in, that it's fine, but I'm guessing I'm wrong there.
Yeah, anything that, again, it's a surface-to-surface transfer, so you won't be transferring what you bit on your mouth, but where your hand will be inoculating the dip. Everyone's double dipping in the room. You might as well be French kissing everybody in the room. Yeah.
Food Safety Week has just wrapped up in Australia, and this year's theme, Joe, I know you're going to love this, is raw and risky, which spotlights the danger of undercooked food. It's all about getting educated, so I've put together a quick pop quiz. Dust. Got my bit of paper here. You're up first.
Can you win a prize if you win?
I'll let you know after if you're getting a prize.
The prize is you don't get salmonella.
Okay. I'll take that.
What a good prize too. All right, when measuring the temperature of food, where should you put the tip of your food thermometer? On the top, in the thick bit near the bone, in the centre of the thickest bit, or close to the gristle?
I'm going the centre of the thickest bit there, Jack.
Okay, and the answer is yes. Option 3, you should put the thermometer in the thickest part of the food close to the centre as possible without touching any bone, fat or gristle.
Well done, Daz.
Thank you, Daz. So you're winning. All right, Joe, you're next. What are the odds of getting food poisoning in Australia? Every 10, 5, 2 years, or once a year?
Well, if I was to go by the hygiene in my own house, I would say every second day, but I'd say once a year.
Okay, and the answer is it is once every 5 years, which is on par with other developed countries. There's more than 4 million cases here, would you believe it, every year. All right, Dr. Nick, you're next. To be safe, leftovers should be reheated until they are at 75 degrees Celsius, 60 degrees Celsius, or steaming hot. Now, you're a doctor, so you should know this.
Well, I like steaming hot because it's not specific, so I'm going steaming hot.
Okay, leftovers need to be 75 degrees Celsius.
Oh, wrong already.
That also goes for things like hamburgers, roast meat, chicken and other poultry. Okay, and now this is the last one. It's for everyone.
I need a buzzer.
I feel like we're on Salad of the Century or something here. Which of these foods are most linked to food poisoning outbreaks in Australia? And there may be more than one answer. We've got eggs, poorly handled chicken, seafood and pate, right down to fresh
I'm
produce.
going to chicken.
Chicken.
I reckon
I'm going
chicken.
to say all of the above.
You could be right. The answer is pate, eggs and Das chicken. But surprisingly, seafood doesn't top the list, and fruit and veggies such as frozen berries, bagged lettuce and seed sprouts do.
Well, is it just me, or is a food thermometer not something that you don't have in a kitchen drawer? Like, I'm not reaching for a food thermometer. Do you have one of those?
Never seen a food thermometer in my life. But I know you put it in the middle of the thickest bit of meat, Joe.
Yeah.
If I ever
It's a
get
good
one.
rule to go by in life.
It might be time to invest in one, Joe, just to make sure your food poisoning odds are a little better than once every 5 years.
Well, from taking care in the kitchen to caring too much about what other people think of you, it's called FOPO, or the fear of other people's opinions. And up next, we get expert tips on how to make FOPO a no-no.
Well done.
Well, Nick, there are certain things about ageing that aren't great, like having to work harder to maintain the same level of fitness. I am not loving how much my knees hurt after I go running these days, might I say. But one thing that I do love about the passing years is that the older I get, the less I care about what other people think.
Well, I actually think that's true, Joe, and it's backed up by a recent study of 2,000 adults in the UK, which found that 46 is around about the age where we stop worrying quite so much about what people think of us. And I don't know about you, but I reckon that was probably true. As far as I can remember it, it was a long time ago.
I just turned 50 and let me tell you, that muscle has well and truly set in. I just don't care anymore. But we do know that FOMO is the fear of missing out. Well, FOPO is the fear of other people's opinions, and it's one of the biggest things that can hold us back from success, according to mindfulness coach Emma Murray. And she joins us now. Hi there, Em.
Hi, Joe.
So, FOPO is something that we've obviously, all of us have experienced that. Do you agree it diminishes with age?
Oh, no, not at all. I don't think it does. You know, I think it's something that as humans, we are wired to really be on the constant high alert to any particular dangers in our environment. And, you know, when you're a caveman, those dangers were tigers and predators, but today our dangers are what will people think of us? And, you know, the older we get, we still have that survival mind that is driving our choices and our behaviours and our actions. And unfortunately, too often, the behaviours we're choosing and the habits we put in place are being driven by what will people think if I get this wrong? What will people think of me if I wear that? What will people think of me if I don't go to that?
And so, does it affect some people more than others? Because I feel like I have it a lot, but I'm sure everybody else has it a lot too.
Yeah, it absolutely affects, you know, some people are more scared of the dark than others. You know, some people are more afraid of being, you know, left out or being judged by other people. But to some degree, we all have it because of our mind's wiring. You know, interestingly, I thought that I didn't suffer from it. I thought, no, I don't care what people think about me. But then, you know, those people that know my story, you know, when my son was injured and he sustained a spinal cord injury, the most dominant experience for me was like being given a leave pass of what people thought of you. It was like I had this new take on the fact that who would judge the mother of, you know, a son who's in hospital injured? Well, no one's going to judge me if I turn up to school drop-off in, you know, slippers. And no one's going to judge me if I don't have perfectly cooked brownies for the fete, you know. And
are you sure you're right about that?
Yeah. So I really suddenly got this sense of how often I made decisions and did things because on a subtle level, maybe not a noisy level like other people who suffer social anxiety, but on a subtle level, I was absolutely making a lot of decisions that were based on what will people think of me.
So what do we fear is going to happen if we are judged by their opinions?
Yeah, that we're going to be outs from the tribe, basically. You know, no caveman wants to be alone in the jungle. So our survival wiring, again, is that wanting us to be connected. One of our most basic human needs is human connection. And if there is anything that could threaten that connection, then we become hypervigilant about it. So we don't want to be alone. We don't want to be left out. And so as a mechanism to prevent that from happening, our mind is constantly making us think about, what do I have to do to please that person? What do I have to do to make sure that person likes me? What do I have to make sure that I look the same and do the same as everyone else?
So when can that fear, that what others think about us, derail us? I mean, for example, if you're going for a job interview or speaking in front of a large crowd?
Oh, all of that and more can derail many things. It can derail us socially. A lot of people, you know, avoid going to particular social events, which is interesting, isn't it? We don't want to be outs from the tribe, but we also don't go because we're so worried about what people will think of us. It can derail us in our work environment. We don't speak up in that meeting. We don't share our creative ideas. We don't give our opinion. And it can hold us back in our families, again, by not really speaking our true, authentic self. It can affect us in all parts of our life.
How can we impart that? How can we say, actually, don't worry about what other people think, just be really genuinely you?
Yeah. Well, we can't say don't worry about what other people will think. That's the first point. You know, as soon as we say to someone, oh, don't worry about what they think, that survival mind like turns up even louder. Of course I have to worry about what, you know, what other people think. And it drives those thoughts more. So we are much more productive to say to ourselves or to say to our child or a work colleague something along the lines of acceptance. So it's normal to be worried about what other people think. It's okay to be nervous before you make a public speak, you know, before you speak in public, except that you can't control what other people think of you. So acceptance is the absolute best antidote for fear of other people's opinions. It's not to just tell ourselves not to worry about it.
You have lots of tools. What can we use to put our focus on something that's more positive?
A really powerful tool is to spend some time actually looking at, well, how does FOPO show up for me? Do I actually retreat and say no to social events? Do I not share my opinions? Do I, you know, not wear what I really want to wear, you know, and change my style? So it's knowing, well, what are the warning signs of FOPO? Then when it shows up for you, when, you know, it comes, you're one step ahead of it and you can actually call stop on it. So really saying to yourself, hang on, stop. I can see what I'm doing here. I can see that I'm retreating, or I can see that I'm people-pleasing, or I'm dropping into perfectionism. So calling a very loud, clear stop on that. Then, of course, using that acceptance. And I talk about acceptance as choosing a statement that is going to serve you better. Like that, I can't control what other people think, but accepting it physically as well. So making sure we're taking lots of deep breaths, softening our posture, opening our posture. This gets us out of that threat mode. And so if we're trying to tell ourselves, don't worry about what people think, yet we're stiff and we're tight and we're reclining, you know, that is not going to help us. So actually really soften into it, take some breaths, and then ask ourselves that question, But what can I do right here, right now, to really bring my best to this moment?
I love it so very much. I know that you helped Richmond win back-to-back premierships. Your mindfulness...
3.
I beg your pardon.
Only a Collingwood supporter would leave that one. I'm surprised you didn't say, and, you know, that you didn't help them in 2018.
That's right, well, that's true. I didn't want to bring that up. That's for off camera. But I know that your techniques work, so thank you so much for joining us and sharing this with the Housewives today.
It's such an important topic, this one.
Well, Jackie, I'm not sure if you've ever had faux po, but we certainly don't want to give you FOMO, so over to you.
Thanks, Joe. I don't tend to get FOMO too much these days. I've more embraced the JOMO movement, which is, of course, the joy of missing out. I love it when people cancel their plans at the last minute and I don't have to go out. Getting wiser means knowing when to slow down and what type of self-care works best for you. And this week, Heinz's wellness quest sees him enter a secret chamber to take a deep, relaxing breath.
Oxygen is our lifeline. And when it comes to injury or even post-workout recovery, our body needs to replenish the oxygen in our bloodstream. That's how we get our strength back. Deep, heavy breathing is one way to get the oxygen flowing, but some people swear by the benefits of getting an extra hit by harnessing the power of both oxygen and pressure.
So we'll get you in.
Okay, so there's a oxygen mask.
So we'll put the oxygen mask on once you're in.
Yep. Mate, I feel like I'm about to head on a space expedition.
Yep. This is about as close to a space capsule as you're going to get.
Okay. Jack, in its simplest terms, what is hyperbaric oxygen therapy?
Hyperbaric oxygen therapy is really the use of oxygen under pressure. So we've put you in the capsule that has 95% oxygen. But what we do is we put pressure in the system. That pressure then pushes more oxygen into your bloodstream, and that can then be used for energy production, healing and recovery. And when you're in there, you can speak to us through the phone, and if you need to get our attention, you just press this button here, and we'll be able to hear that wherever we are.
Yep. Run me through some of the key benefits of hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
So the key benefits are, as we bring more oxygen into the system, that helps with our energy production. We get a lot of people saying they get a bit more mental acuity because they've got that more oxygen. People will breathe easier, and you'll get, for people who have got injuries, they'll get a lot better recovery on their soft tissue injury just because you get more oxygen into the area, because when you've got a soft tissue injury, you tend to have restricted blood flow. Just having more oxygen in the bloodstream will just help that recovery, because that's really what oxygen helps you do. Just watch your elbow, and we'll close this one up.
I would definitely say that I resonate as someone who does have claustrophobia. So when it comes to the door closing and me not being able to open it myself, what advice do you have?
The advice I have is just surrender. Just accept that you are going to have this experience. I think the best thing to do, like always when you're trying to reduce your stress level, is breathe deeply. Yep. There's lots of oxygen, so you'll actually feel quite good when you breathe deeply. One of the things I like to do, because some days I feel better than others in there, I just close my eyes so I can't see what's going on.
Can the experience be uncomfortable? We talk about the ears potentially popping.
Yep.
What else goes on for the actual person in there?
Yeah, it is different for everybody. As the pressure equalises, that pressure in your ears goes away. What we tend to find then, people kind of cosy into it. You can't bring your phone in, so you tend to have a time, maybe a bit of screen time out for the day. People tend to relax, and then quite often we find them having a nap towards the end of the session.
That was a roller coaster, and I mean it in so many wonderful ways, because it challenged me personally at first. I thought I'd be knocking on the glass saying, "Get me out of here." For anyone who is considering giving this a go, I cannot recommend it enough, because even if you're nervous about the space, you'll be really proud of yourself for getting over that initial hurdle. And then when you lean into the benefits, you're going to feel so good. Mental health, physical health, oxygenated, really inspired. I have a feeling I'm going to have a very pumped up day.
The liver is a large gland located in the upper abdomen that helps to create bile, which helps to break down fats, and it also stores and processes nutrients. By allowing your body to detox, you're helping the liver to rejuvenate so it can do its job more effectively. And a herb that can help support this is globe artichoke. Its leaves are used traditionally in Western herbal medicine for detoxification by supporting the body's natural channels to eliminate body waste and to support digestive system function. As our body's primary filtration system, it's crucial that we keep our liver healthy. Consider increasing fibre and water consumption, along with consuming fresh fruits, vegetables and protein. Milk thistle, another herb used in traditional Western herbal medicine, has liver protecting effects and may help enhance liver health. It's also used to promote bile flow from the gallbladder, supports digestive system health and relieves symptoms of indigestion such as flatulence, abdominal bloating and feeling full. As master herbalists, Thompson's is dedicated to high-quality herbal formulations based on traditional use and credible science. This commitment is reflected through their use of high-quality raw ingredients and their unique product formulations.
Some advice there on looking after our liver, Nick, which is particularly timely as we head into the Christmas season.
Yeah, well, it is the time when most of us give the livers just a little bit of a workout. So, Das, I've got some liver facts for you. It is our largest internal organ, and you'll remember, Das, from a previous show, that the very largest of our organs is actually...
That'd be our skin, Nick.
Well done. He was paying attention. And the liver is about the size of a rugby ball and can weigh almost 2 kilos in adult men. It carries out about 500 different functions, one being to break down alcohol from those many Christmas drinks that we'll be indulging in very soon.
Well, there's no arguments, Dr. Nick, that another big thing that needs looking after is our planet. And one Aussie company that's on a mission to reshape the global food chain is called Bardi. They're transforming food waste into protein and fertiliser with insects.
In order to feed our growing population, we need to double food production by 2050, but cut the emissions produced in the agricultural sector by 75%. It's no walk in the park. But when insect scientist Alex and ex-architect Phoebe paired up in life and business, their mission became to reshape the global food system.
When Alex and I started Bardi, we really wanted to create something that could genuinely solve some of these broader and larger issues that we're going to face now, but also over the next 20 years. I mean, agriculture and food is something that we all need access to, and the production system has to be maintainable and resilient into the future. How it works at Bardi is we receive food waste from all the different waste logistics companies. They tip big piles, they almost look like mountains of food waste in a food waste bay, and we actually process that food waste, removing all the contamination, little bits of plastic, packaging, wrappers, so that we can prepare it into an ideal diet for insects. Our insects are able to then process the food waste in 7 days, so they're growing 3,000 times in size, but by the end of that 7 days, they have processed 100% of the food waste, and all there is this fat grub and the insect's castings as well, so like an insect manure. And at that point, it's our job to separate the insect from the insect castings, and we process the castings into our fertiliser product, and we process the insects into a 60% protein product that goes into pet foods and animal feeds in order to put that waste effectively back into the food system in a sustainable way.
The black soldier fly is not your typical sort of house fly or fruit fly. It looks like this big black wasp, but it's actually a really docile, friendly fly. Its native environment is basically the forest floor. The food waste of the jungle is essentially what they deal with. So if that's their natural habitat, they really excel at basically processing any kind of organic material back into something that's useful again.
The shape of food waste doesn't look exactly how it looks on a plate or when you see food in a restaurant. We've had experience processing massive tuna heads as well as huge scobies to make kombucha that are as big as your living room.
Business is buzzing. Since beginning in 2019 with just a handful of flies, Bardeen now processes over 10 tonnes of food waste daily with up to 1.2 billion black soldier flies. For every tonne of food waste being diverted from landfill, Bardeen prevents 1.9 tonnes of CO2 equivalents being produced. It's a circular system that's helping create the food of tomorrow.
So what we have here is the castings of the black soldier fly, basically insect manure. So this superfly fertiliser can be used on a home garden, on a lawn, a golf course, horticulture, viticulture, broadacre. It's a really general purpose fertiliser fit for every soil type.
It's certified organic, so it can actually go onto organic crops that produce organic produce that you might find on shelves and in store. It's also being used in traditional cropping to reduce the reliance on synthetic fertilisers. So as well as producing a fertiliser, Bardee's insect protein today is being used to replace imported and unsustainable ingredients that go into pet food. So you could be feeding your dog at home a carbon neutral diet, and we think that's something really important for people who are thinking about how they can live more sustainably and make day-to-day sustainable decisions. Reshaping the global food system is going to take some effort from absolutely everyone. And so we really want to support those growers who are taking on those new technologies. And at home, we can all be looking out for what we're purchasing and making sure we're making sustainable choices by reading the back of the label.
This is all about producing as much food security as we can for the world.
Wow, that is amazing technology, Dr. Nick. They're the first insect facility in the world to be certified by the Clean Energy Regulator to be producing carbon credits.
It's incredible, isn't it? And they're putting insect protein into the food system. And that means that we'll soon be able to buy carbon neutral foods like eggs.
They've got fertiliser trials running across the country on all kinds of crops, from lettuce to cherries, with the plan to reduce the reliance on chemicals and mine fertiliser. It is stuff of the future that is almost with it, Nick. It's a brilliant story.
Well, I can't wait until it's in the hardware store so I can buy some and put it on my rather sad little vegetable patch.
Up next, Delta Goodrem unleashes her brand new power on the nation. And Dr. Nick, when is a drug not really a drug at all?
When it's a placebo dose. And I'll explain everything right after this.
I think my approach to every venture that happens is being true to where I'm at in that moment. And so I think I correlate that to being a musician, where in each album I say, okay, where does my compass say I need to go next? It feels like we've all gone through so much, and the fragrance has to represent that right now. And I think that people have taken the power back, and I think that that's what this fragrance is really representing.
For Delta Goodrem, the process of developing a fragrance is much the same as writing a song. It's storytelling. It's no surprise then that her latest fragrance, Power, takes inspiration from her song of the same name.
I want people to take the fragrance home and feel their power and their individuality, and to be able to understand that, you know, in my lyrics in the song, I'm saying the power is in with you, it's in with me, it's all of us. You know, you have your light. It's really about your strength and your confidence, but also your conviction in what you believe in. And I think that that's also in the structure of the bottle, where there's the straight lines up to the top that sort of has a clarity to this particular fragrance. I think the biggest thing I've learned developing the fragrances, I feel that there's so much heart to it. I remember I was at this restaurant in my local place, you know, where I grew up. This woman was sitting next to me and she goes, I just have to talk to you. I'm wearing Dream right now. And it was like this beautiful connection. My world continues to expand in finding ways to connect with people and send love through whatever I'm doing. And that has been a real joy. My hope is when somebody takes Power home, is that when they spray it, they are writing their moment, this chapter. They say, this is where I'm at right now. I've discovered a new fragrance that represents who I am today, not who I was yesterday, but who I am today and who I am going forward right now. I hope that I'm with them in spirit through the bottle as well. I'm there sending good vibes. Go, win the day. Go, my friend, go.
Delta has to be one of my top 5 car karaoke artists, Joe. Probably top 1, to be honest. You know, those big ballads that you sing in the car when no one's listening.
Oh, absolutely, Delta, because I was born to try.
I'll leave it up to
know
you.
that.
Yeah, I know that.
Love it.
I won't
Window
subject-
down. All the other cars love it.
I won't subject the viewers to it. But she also does so much in the charity sector, and that's, I think, why we love her so much. Her foundation fights blood cancer and works closely with St Vincent's Hospital to help find a cure.
Yeah, she is truly an extraordinary person. As Delta says, she's part of the St Vincent's family after beating Hodgkin's lymphoma, diagnosed when she was just 18. And then 4 years ago, after a surgery, she lost the ability to control her speech.
Joe, it's been such a long road back for her, and she did it, and she's singing and performing again. And you really have to admire her laser focus on recovery and her positive, I'll beat this attitude.
I reckon mind over matter works, Jack, and simply believing something to be true can sometimes make it so, even in the world of medicine. Here's Dr. Nick.
When scientists want to know if a drug works, they do what's called a placebo-controlled trial, where they test the active drug against an inert substance or placebo, which might sound a bit daft. I mean, if it's inactive, it's not going to work, right? Wrong. Weird though it might sound, placebos can affect almost any condition. For example, the placebo response rate in Parkinson's is up to 15%. And up to 20% of people with epilepsy will have their seizure rate halved with a placebo. And when it comes to more complex conditions, things like irritable bowel syndrome or depression, up to 40% of the benefit is due to the placebo effect. So what's going on here? Well, no one really knows, but a clue comes from the word itself. Placebo is Latin for I will please, and the belief that something might help means that sometimes it actually does. And it turns out that 2 placebo tablets are better than 1, a big red placebo is better than a small white one, capsules are better than pills, and injections work best of all. And guess what? A placebo can still work even if the person taking it is told it's a placebo. Go figure. So, if placebos are safe and they work, why bother with actual drugs? Well, that's a great question. Turns out that the placebo industry is a multi-billion-dollar business. Take some alternative therapies, for instance, like homeopathy, which is almost entirely a placebo response. But it can be us doctors too. Take arthritis of the knee. A common treatment for osteoarthritis used to be what's called arthroscopic debridement. But when they compared people who had the real surgery with a placebo group, who had the whole kit and caboodle, the anaesthetic, incisions, stitches, but no actual surgery, the outcomes were the same. Now, it's a good thing we learned from this and we no longer do that type of surgery. Now, don't get me wrong, medicines do actually work. For example, while placebos might be good for the fatigue in cancer, they don't affect the underlying disease. That's due to the hardcore stuff like surgery, chemo, and radiotherapy. Researchers have also found that young people who believe that the mixed drink that they're slugging back is strong get intoxicated, even though there's no alcohol in there at all. I might try that on the kids.
If you were to show me someone who has never experienced stress, Sarah, then I would show you an alien, because someone who's never experienced stress doesn't exist.
It is an inevitable part of life, Heinzie. But on a sliding scale, some people may experience very little stress in their life, whilst up to 35% of us experience moderate to high levels of stress.
That's why it is now time to bow down to the king of Ayurvedic medicine, ashwagandha.
This small shrub with yellow flowers has grown in popularity in Western herbal medicine thanks to its role as an adaptogen, which means it helps our body adapt to stress.
Extracts from the plant's roots and leaves support memory, mental recall and focus, which is perfect for those under pressure because it's often the first thing to go.
But if you're one of those people who reacts to stress more physically rather than mentally, then you can turn to another plant, Siberian ginseng, which supports physical stamina.
And from the nutrient world, we can look to vitamin B5 rich foods such as nuts, avocados, beef and chicken, which can support energy production and help us with environmental stress.
It brings a whole new meaning to the phrase stress eating. But thankfully, there are plenty of options available and all of them are found in supplement form.
So what you're trying to say is less stressing and more hashtag blessing.
Hashtag blessed, hashtag grateful.
Hashtag sunrise.
The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Go Healthy's Go Ashwagandha Stress and Energy 1 a Day, a convenient high-strength formulation to support energy levels and coping with environmental stress.
Well, thanks to Heinzie and Sarah there. Now, Dr. Nick, we love keeping up to date with medical breakthroughs, and the latest just to do with a condition that affects a lot of people, and that's arthritis.
Yes, and Darcy, in particular, rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune condition that causes painful, swollen joints. And researchers in the US are now looking at a newly discovered species of gut bacteria as a possible cause.
So much of our physical and mental health is linked to microorganisms in our gut, so this is not really that surprising.
No, I mean, we're learning so much about the gut microbiome, which is absolutely incredible, with literally trillions of bacteria featuring hundreds of different types, mostly good guys, and some of them not so good. And the theory is that this previously unknown bad guy might be crowding out the good guys who fight inflammation, leading to rheumatoid arthritis.
Any advances that can get us closer to understanding and finding a cure for all disease is a good thing for me, including the one that affects around 500,000 Australians.
So I'm a rheumatologist, and a rheumatologist is a specialist doctor in arthritis. That is anything to do with bones, joints, tendons, ligaments, but we also deal with inflammatory conditions as well. Arthritis can be caused by lots of different things because there's lots of different types of arthritis. Osteoarthritis, which is the most common type of arthritis, is usually because of trauma to a joint, and that can be for whatever reason. It could be because of playing sport, because of twisting your knee and doing your meniscus when you were younger, or needing an ACL repair. That can lead then to knee osteoarthritis. It can be mechanics because you've had flat feet and you've been walking differently. It can be because of hip dysplasia as a child and you get hip osteoarthritis. So there's lots of different reasons. And of course then with age, there's more and more trauma that can occur to various joints. They can get more osteoarthritis with age. It does rely on pain management. So it may mean anti-inflammatory medications. We try to use non-pharmacological measures, so non-drug measures. And that is exercise, keep the muscles strong around the joint to protect and support the joint. Try to minimise biomechanical effects, but keeping the joint moving is really important. It's really important to keep weight under control for osteoarthritis. We know that there is a link to cardiovascular disease. The same causes of cardiovascular disease are associated with osteoarthritis. So weight control, losing even 5% of the body weight, can make a difference as much as taking an anti-inflammatory medication. So that's super, super important. People can prevent osteoarthritis by keeping their weight healthy, by keeping themselves fit and their muscles strong. Of course, people who do sport where they're overdoing it, elite athletes, are more likely to get damage to their joints and osteoarthritis just because of that repetitive trauma. The second most common would probably be gout. Now, we all talk about the male who drinks a lot of beer and they get the gout, but women can get it too. It can be just because of kidney disease, which is probably one of the most common reasons why we see it, is because of the kidneys are not functioning properly. The other most common arthritis would be rheumatoid arthritis, and that is an autoimmune disease that tends to attack and destroy the joints. The rheumatoid arthritis, we rely on medicines stopping the immune system from attacking the joint. What we're seeing a lot more of is arthritis associated with viruses such as COVID. We see a flare in their arthritis sometimes after vaccines. So we're seeing also reactive arthritis due to a gastrointestinal illness, for instance. Unfortunately, we don't have a cure for arthritis. We have lots of really good treatments, particularly like for rheumatoid arthritis, for gout, for psoriatic arthritis, the types of inflammatory arthritis. We have lots of good treatments and more are coming on board all the time. For osteoarthritis, it's trickier. There's a lot of research going on, but we don't have a great cure. We can't reverse the damage that's been done. all we can do is manage the pain, keep people as strong as possible to manage their symptoms.
Now, I'd like to talk hair for a moment, if I could. I'm happy to have some, Joe, to be honest with you, Jack. Happy for it to go grey, no problems at all, but like to keep as much as I can. I think genetically I might be okay. It's fairly good hair in my family from some of the older males in the family, which I think is a good sign, Joe.
I would most definitely say that you have got a good head of hair
Thank
for
you, Joe.
your
For you.
for your age. But honestly, it's not a big deal, right? For me, I
Bald men are okay?
Yeah, but I can understand how for some guys it is a thing to lose your hair, of course.
My husband has the best head of hair. He's got more hair than I do, except he's gone really grey all of a sudden, and he's really insecure about going grey. Yeah.
So George Clooney made grey okay.
And I'm just glad
Silver
that there's
fox.
this sort of fashion for short hair and shaved heads, because that suits me just fine. And here's something that will be of interest to the many men watching. Japanese scientists have for the first time ever grown hair follicles in a lab, which is pretty amazing. Because for decades, researchers at the Yokohama University have been trying to find out what makes hair grow, and they've done it, creating a special kind of gel that stimulates hair growth.
So are we talking incredible growth or just like an inkling of stubble? Is it like proper hair?
It's actually a fair question, because the hair follicles grew around 3 millimetres in a month, which doesn't sound much, but the researchers did say it's very early days, it's not going to cure hair loss anytime soon, but potentially great news for men thinning on top, just a bit late for me.
I don't think I've seen anyone really been able to get it right, have they, when they try and get their hair regrown? You know, have you ever seen it? It normally doesn't look out that well. Anyway, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you to Dr. Nick. Some hope for those bald men out there on the back of that, to Jackie and to Joe. Always fantastic to spend some time with you guys.
I'll be on the airways for the House of Wellness radio show with Joe Quigley this Sunday.
And you can check out the House of Wellness website for more great content.
Thanks to our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. We'll see you again soon.